Detroit has now lost 5 of its last 6 ball games after another rough performance. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Tigers is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome all. The Detroit Tigers, unfortunately, lay another absolute egg. It's so wild. Like, they did it again, right? Where I guess they didn't have the lead late in this one, but the team did it again. Like, I'm sitting there in the 8th inning. They've played terribly. They have played absolutely horrifically for 8 innings, and they're down a run going into the 9th. Actually, we can even be more specific. In the bottom of the 8th, after having played pretty darn terribly for almost all of that span, they had the game-tying run on second base with no outs. In the bottom of the 8th inning somehow. I have no idea how, but they did. And of course, he didn't score because it's still the Detroit Tigers. But even again, like, he didn't score. Okay, you went into the 9th inning down a run. And then Will Vest gets popped. We'll talk about that in a second. And then Riley Green does hit a home run, but that was all she wrote. 7-5 final score in favor of the Nationals. They take this series no matter what happens today on Wednesday. Like I said in the cold open, the Tigers have now lost 5 of their last 6 ball games. Their record is now 32-35 on the season. What went wrong? I'll be honest with you, trying to find things that went right in this ball game was one of the most difficult tasks I have endured since taking over as host of this show 3 years ago. Almost around to the day. We're approaching whenever Matt Manning's debut was. And obviously I'm being somewhat, like I'm kind of kidding for dramatic effect. But legitimately, this was a game that I stared at my computer for like 3 to 5 minutes when I was doing show prep. And I was like, I don't know how to twist like what went right. We lost, so we're going to start with what went wrong, and then we'll build up to the great reveal of the minute things that went right in this ball game. That's a tease right there of epic proportion. Don't you just want to stay tuned and hear about all the things that went right in this ball game? Just a pro radio caliber tease right there, ladies and gents. What went wrong? Well, everything. There's the show. Thanks for making us your first listen. Let's start off with Reese Olson. 5 1/3, 10 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. His ERA is now 3.68 on the season. The fastball got absolutely smacked around in this ball game, and that's something that on this show we've been talking about all of really. I mean, dating back to last year, his entire major league tenure so far, but really have honed in on and have talked about in great detail so far in the calendar year of 2024. Talked about it a lot in spring training, and even when he was pitching really well and had whatever, like a 2.10 or a 2.05 or whatever his ERA was, before this bad stretch started 3 starts ago. Even in those, like I'd come on here and be like, oh, like I don't want people to get mad at me, but like the fastball still hasn't been super effective. And it wasn't it didn't matter. It wasn't matter. It didn't matter because he was sequencing everything else really well. He was getting swings and misses on everything, and he was keeping hitters off balance incredibly well. And I think that he's lost a little bit of that lately. I really tonight for the first time in a while, like even that start in Fenway was kind of just like whatever. Like there was a pesky pole home run, like whatever. I like this was the first one that I really had a problem with some of the sequencing and the decision to go to certain pitches in certain counts. And part of that's him, part of that's, Carson Kelly behind the plate, maybe part of that's coaching, whatever. But this was the first time that I had somewhat of an issue with just like his actual execution of some pitches as well. And I'm not talking just like command, right? In his last outing, he didn't have great command either. But this was just one where I think he got a little too predictable, I guess is my point. And I think that is something that he's going to have to work through. I love the kid, and I'm sure that he seems uber competitive, right? And I'm sure that he's going to get into the lab and figure it out. I really don't have too many question marks about Reese Olson long term. Maybe we can debate like what his true ceiling is, I guess, but like he's going to be a solid starter in this league, and whatnot. But this comes with the territory of being a young pitcher, right? Like your report goes around, people figure you out, people figure out your tendencies. I think he'll be fine, but he needs to make an adjustment, and that's kind of just where we're at with Reese Olson. So this was obviously not a very good performance. It's absurd that he's 1-8 with a 3.68 ERA. That is absolutely mind-boggling, but that's a conversation for a different day. I mean, okay, so now that we got that out of the way, like what went wrong? You can genuinely break baseball down into 4 categories, and these are super broad. And this is not like everything in baseball falls into one of these 4 categories. But for the sake of this exercise, let's just do it. I tweeted something similar out about this, so we're going to reference this a lot in this episode. Starting pitching in this ball game wasn't very good, right? The bullpen in this ball game wasn't very good. The offense in this ball game wasn't very good. And the defense in this ball game wasn't very good. And again, it's nothing short of a Christmas miracle in June that they even found a way to be as close as they were in heading into the 9th inning. Every single aspect of this team was pretty close to brutal, if not straight up brutal, in this ballgame. So let's keep talking about it, because that's what we love to do here. All right, we'll do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Prize Picks. With Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats projections, and you are locked in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week as well, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chances of getting a win, or getting your entry fee back on if you have a losing lineup on a Friday. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. So get in on the action today. There's so many fun players to look at when setting your Prize Picks lineup. I talk every day to you about how I really like looking at starting pitchers and looking at the strikeout number that Prize Picks gives, because more or less on strikeouts is always really fun and easy to track and just fun to root for. There's matchups, right? You're looking at the opponent, the team that the pitcher is facing, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously we still have, for now, the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup going on, but both of those 2-0 and 3-0 at the time of this recording. So get in on all the fun action while you can. And download the app today and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Also, going to tell you all about our friends over at Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. Your work life insurance may not offer enough protection for your family's needs, or even worse, it may not come with you if you ever leave your job. Their award winning agents can even walk you through the process step by step. Policy Genius also has no incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance fully. Get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in, even amidst the rough times here for the Detroit Tigers on the field. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, the free 24/7 streaming YouTube channel. You can subscribe, like I said, for free on YouTube. See all of our great hosts here at Locked On covering the biggest stories in sports 24/7. Again, on YouTube for free or for free in the Amazon Fire TV channels app. So the Detroit Tigers lost 7-5 at the hands of the Washington Nationals. They've now lost 5 of their last 6 ball games. Talking about things that went wrong in this ball game, kind of broke it down into 4 areas in which really was highlighting how everything kind of went wrong, and the fact that I don't know how they scored 5. I watched it happen. I literally know how they score 5, but I'm blown away by the fact that they did. You had Matt Vierling had a leadoff home run, and then after that, you got shut out for 7 innings. Then you had like the 8th inning magic where everybody was hitting the ball, and then they brought in their two-headed monster. Well, half of their two-headed monster. They brought in Harvey, who's been really good, and immediately got shut down. Runner on second, no outs. It's the game-tying run. Didn't even get to third base. Does that sound familiar? Hilarious. Just absolutely hilarious. And I'm trying to convince myself that it's hilarious so I don't start crying. You went 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position in this ball game. We went through the lineup one by one yesterday. We don't need to do that after every single ball game. But there's so many players that have just cooled off so mightily, right? Akil Baddoo hasn't been great since being recalled. Colt Keith has been brutal in June, only has 1 or 2 hits in the entire month of June so far. Matt Vierling has cooled off significantly, even with the home run in this ball game. Mark Canha, we've talked about, has cooled off a lot since the middle of May. Winfield Perez had a great game in this one, thank goodness. Before this game, had cooled off quite a lot, had taken a pretty large step back. So, I'm not. You can pick anybody in this lineup. I'm not just trying to pick on those individuals. Anybody, 1 through 9. Yes, probably. And big picture, we talked yesterday. I asked the question, how many of these hitters do you feel even remotely confident in when they step into the batter's box, right? If we have a big picture version of that conversation, it's looking at the lineup that they trotted out there for this ball game. How many players in this lineup are you confident are going to be long-term bats for this organization? Not could be, not we hope, are genuinely confident that they will be. Would love to know the answer to that. Because I don't think it's a super high number at the present moment. This offense right now is it's all secondary pieces to a lineup that is good. That's like the best way I can describe it, right? If you're going through, if Gio Urshela is your 8 hitter, that's not a bad little piece to have in the bottom of a good lineup, right? He puts the ball in play, doesn't walk a whole lot, doesn't hit for any power, but he puts the ball in play. Not a bad guy to have hitting 8 or 9 for a good team, right? Matt Vierling had the second highest OPS on the team on Wednesday night on the season in the lineup card. Matt Vierling is not a playoff team's second best hitter. He's not a 500 team's second best hitter. Right? I mean, go look at those Phillies teams. Right? I mean, go down the list. Mark Canha has been batting 234 for you. Riley Green is the only person you could argue, and obviously Kerry Carpenter when he's healthy, but he's not. For this specific lineup, Riley Green's the only one you could argue hits in the top half of a good lineup, right? And that may be 5. Is that half? I guess technically not. Math was never my strong suit, but you get my point. And that's why they're inconsistent. That's why this offense bounces all over the place. Because, like, they're still major league hitters, right? Gio Urshela, professional hitter. Mark Canha, very professional hitter, right? So, like, this lineup will randomly score 10, but on a consistent basis, no, man. Like, you're not getting consistent production out of a lineup that features Mark Canha and Gio Urshela as like 2 of the team's 3 best hitters, or are hitting somewhere between 2, 3, 4 on an even remotely consistent basis in your lineup. Let's talk about the bullpen. That struggled too. We'll talk about that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Tigers, we pride ourselves in getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming for you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed tax professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay last season and you need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in this episode description below. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. We've talked about the starting pitching. We've talked about the offense. The bullpen in this ball game was not very great. To the credit of Mason Englert and Joey Wentz, they don't leave with any earned runs next to their name in the box score. Mason Englert tight-roped his way out of danger. Do want to give credit where credit is due there. It's just, again, it's like a when it rains, it pours type of thing. Like Wentz was fine, and then the command completely went away. Again, credit to Englert, but like Will Vest, who has been one of your better relievers, he had an incredible May, right? He might have been your best reliever in the month of May. Completely implodes the second you put him in a high leverage situation. There is zero high leverage confidence in this bullpen. Zero. Who do you trust in high leverage right now? Nobody. Man, no one. It's staggering. And like that is that is such a huge, obviously that's such a huge deal, but like that's something that a box score isn't going to take into consideration. It is different baseball objectively. If you've ever pitched at any level of baseball in your entire life, you're aware, right? It is so different going on the mound in a low leverage situation versus a very high leverage situation. It just is. And this team doesn't have anyone right now, right? I'm not saying someone can't become that or hasn't been that before, because there are dudes on this team that have very recently at that. Right now, on June 13th, there's not a soul in that bullpen that when they walk out there in a high leverage situation, you go, you know what? I am super confident right now. It's the same thing with the offense. It's the same thing with the defense. Dreadful yet again. Like, first off, you see why the front office was hesitant to call up Colt Keith because of his defense, right? Like we're seeing that unfold in real time. It's been really brutal and it's been rather frequent, unfortunately. It's also hilarious to me that, like in hindsight, the comments about prioritizing defense so much by this front office, given the product that the defense has that we've seen so far this season, but it's felt like, again, like when it rains, it pours. Like it really does feel like Colt Keith has been on the receiving end of a lot of defensive backlash. Now he's not the reason they lost, right? This is not a solo effort. This is a group effort. It's just it's mind-boggling to me how many games, like it's the middle of June. It's early mid-June, and I can count. I'm not even sure I have enough fingers to count on my two hands how many games they have lost, whether directly or indirectly, because of just horrible defense. Like it's staggering. It's unbelievable to me. And like when you zoom out, we can do what we did yesterday with the lineup, but with the defense, right? Who are you confident in defensively that's out there right now? Right? I mean, an outfield of Vierling, Winseal, Perez, and then like McKinstry played outfield. Marcano played a little bit of outfield. There was kind of some shuffling around late. Akil Baddoo actually made a really nice play in this ball game and left. Colt Keith at second, we already talked about. Not a lot is going right currently. Not a lot surrounding the major league product is going very well at the present moment. Okay, what went right in this ball game? Here you go, big reveal. The eighth inning, obviously, but I don't think anyone thinks that that's replicable on a consistent basis. So, like, I don't even like putting that on there, right? When we talk about what went right, I like to talk about things that have a possible of reoccurring in the future, and I don't think anyone thinks that he does, and they still fell short ultimately anyway. They didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I guess my point is, whenever the Tigers score runs, it almost feels like a surprise. That's not supposed to happen. I don't know if you're aware, but that's actually not how that's not a normal feeling. Like when you're watching your team and you go, "Oh, wow, we scored." That shouldn't be anything you utter. Like scoring should be that it should be more frequent than that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just don't think it's a good thing that it's as surprising as it is whenever they actually do manage to score a run. Riley Green with the homer. That's good. OPS back over 800. Hopefully he can get back on track there. The Matt Beerling leadoff homer, pull side. We've talked about that quite a lot. Joey Wentz, Mason Englert, 0 earned runs to their names. That's good. Mark Canha and Andy Ibanez, I thought, played good defensive first base in this ball game. That's where we're at, by the way. That's where we're at. I'm like scraping the barrel so much where I'm talking about first base defense in a game where the team still made 2 errors. That's like one of my highlights. Was I did. I like, it is a highlight. I believe that. I'm not making it up. I do think they both played really good defense. Just ridiculous, dog. Stuff's not very not very lengthy in this one. I want to do what we did earlier with this game: starting pitching, bullpen, offense, defense. Zoom out in big picture those 4 categories. Okay, big picture them for me. Starting pitching, outside of Scooble and Flaherty, has been absolutely imploding the last nearly month, but we'll be even a little bit more generous and say the last 2 or 3 weeks. Bullpen has absolutely been completely imploding and is a complete dumpster fire for like a month now. Offense, again, somehow in this game ended with 5 runs. I really still not even really sure how. Offensively, we're not even confident how many of these current players are going to be a part of the long-term plan at the major league level. And you only have 3 or 4 guys on a nightly basis that have an above league average OPS. It's really not great, right? And the defense has lost you a plethora, if you will, of games already this season, and it's June 13th. It really does. I hope I am wrong, and I hope that we can look back at this and I can just laugh about how I was being too overdramatic or overreactionary or was getting too low with the lows, and we can all make fun of how I did it yet again and did that yet again. I genuinely hope that is what happens. Okay, I hope they win their next 4 straight and confuse everybody and are back to being around 500. But with how things have looked over the last week plus, week and a half, with all 4 aspects that I just laid out, this team going into a slide and like I guess they already have. They've lost 5 of their last 6. Continuing to slide further and further from 500 would be unbelievably unsurprising. Because even earlier in the season, right, when they were going on hot and cold streaks and whatnot, I was like, okay, well, the pitching is the stabilizer, right? The starting pitching is the stabilizer. Or like in April, the bullpen is the equalizer here. What do you have to fall back on right now other than just crossing your fingers and hoping that one of those 4 bounces back and returns to a previous form? In its current form, all 4 are pretty awful. So here we are. And again, when I'm talking about, I mean, we're about to face Mackenzie Gore tomorrow. Yeah, he hits 99 sometimes and was a former top pitching prospect and is having an unbelievable season. So, good luck with that. Casey Mize is on the mound. He had 1 swing and miss in his last outing. And if you lose, you get swept by the Nationals at home before playing the Astros, who, despite all their struggles, still have probably a better roster than you. So that's my point, is like when you're talking about the game tomorrow, they might win. I hope they do. I'm going to be rooting till I'm red in the face that they do win, like I do every single game, right? I hope we go 162-0 every year. Obviously, I'm a fan first. But when I'm again zooming out a little bit and thinking about the next week, not just the next single game where there's a chance that anything can happen, right? The White Sox have won games. when I'm thinking about it going on a, the next 5 to 7 games and what the Tigers need to do to win some ball games in that stretch, there's nothing to hang your hat on. It's hope that something turns around because nothing is good at the moment. And that's not the sign of a good baseball team, right? I don't know. Not that's a very Captain Obvious statement. Obviously, you're aware of that, but like teams, that's not normal. Teams usually have something where they're like, oh, okay. Like the only equalizer we have right now is Tarek Skubal. It's oh my goodness, just limp into your next Tarek Skubal start, and credit to Jack Flaherty who's had a great year. Those two gentlemen, I guess, are your equalizers. Let's just get to their next starts and hope we can win those 2 games, because the other ones aren't guaranteed. Even Jack Flaherty only has a few wins on the year. Like we gave him no run support for like a month and a half. Okay. I this is let's think something positive to end the show on. What do we got? Hao Yu Lee has been awesome to watch for the Tigers down in Erie. The prospect that the Tigers got for Michael Lorenzen at the deadline last year seems to have figured it out, made some adjustments. He is must watch. I absolutely love him. I really like his approach at the plate, his decision making on what to swing at and what not to swing at. I think is ahead of his years. So I'm hoping that can be something that can continue to translate. I'd imagine we'll see him in Toledo before the end of this season, which is exciting. Then going forward, NCAA 25 comes out relatively soon. Can't wait. Cannot wait to just do absolutely nothing but play that game way too much than I should. All the features look really cool. Let's see. Taking my dad to Canada this weekend for Father's Day. That'll be cool. We're gonna catch a ball game actually, so it'll be fun. Yeah, good vibes. All right, don't let this team ruin your day, your week, your month, your year. Okay, like they do to crazy people like me. All right, don't let them. We're all in this together. We all want to see good baseball. Hug a Tiger fan today. And we're as a musical once said, we're all in this together. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. I appreciate you all greatly for continuing to tune in and continuing to support the show. I feel like I'm much more vocal about how grateful I am when the team is struggling. I'm grateful 100% of the time, I promise you. But it really does. It's very easy to not support this show and support me when the team sucks. So I appreciate you all greatly. We will be back tomorrow recapping the series finale, just like we are every single day, and we will talk about anything else happening within the organization. All right, peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch you all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.